clear that. The other one is the big lie that Ifnubu told 2 months ago when he bragged in front of his separate singers, court jesters, that he's already met his 2025 revenue target as far back as August. So meaning there is a possible prosperity for Nigeria and Nigerians. Therefore, you shouldn't really worry about whatever Donald Trump was doing. This was 2 months ago, right? But just 2 days ago, the Tinubu's ministers, the finance, as well as the economic planning or something, or national economy, whatever, economy planning minister, Bagudu, they appeared before the National Assembly budget something committee, who were asking them about how far your record is completely imbalanced. And if you claimed that you already met your revenue target for 2025 as far back as August, what is going on? This doesn't really correlate because your budget performance for 2025 is so below, is so low. They say, yeah. Well, the problem was that we didn't meet our revenue target. In fact, we missed it by over 70%. Nigeria's 2025 budget is like 51 trillion, was it? However, they planned, according to them, they planned to generate revenue to the tune of at least 40 trillion. They were planning to borrow 10 trillion, and God knows. So it's obvious that they didn't meet that. So what they said about that, I'm going to share with you. So we are going to start with the new partial ban on Nigerians. I have seen people who have been trying to make mockery of this in the sense that when Donald Trump, when the America waded into this terrorism issue in Nigeria, and they added Nigeria, should I say, they designate Nigeria as a country of particular interest, this time because of the killings of Christians in Nigeria. So to mount pressure on the government officials, the government of Nigeria, from all levels, right, at all levels, to do the right thing and end this madness. So it was like, yeah, country of particular concern. The citizens are not going to be affected. It will be the government officials, because once they begin to roll out the sanctions, okay, they will be the most affected. Then they were like, oh, hang on, if America also stopped their aid to Nigeria, what does that even mean? It simply means the vulnerable people who needed this help, or who uses this help, if they are actually getting the help, right? So the vulnerable people that need this help will be denied this simply because of the actions of those in government. I'm trying to speak on the third person now. I'm sure you get like how people are kind of reacting when this thing started about 2 months ago. Okay, so Donald Trump, they went as further as, allowing a conversation between Nigeria and the United States. Enough that some even suggested that the reason why Nigeria is being disrespected or treated this way was simply because Nigeria had no ambassadors to the United States of America. Then, surprisingly, Nigeria got added to the countries, not just the countries of particular concern this again, right? Country of security concerns. And this time, it's not just government officials, the citizens themselves. So Nigeria is partially, because this kind of proclamation kind of will be reviewed, terminally, so to say. So they announced that Nigerians who have, Nigerian Americans to start with, the Nigerian Americans who have their own American passport or green card and the rest of that, who want to apply for their relatives in Nigeria to join them, like those who want to go and bring their spouses, families, or what have you, from January, right, those families will not get that visa going to America. And those of you who want to go for education, like maybe, you have to, you are sitting for a particular exam this coming year, which will then kind of lead to you going to the United States, you will be exempted too. Like, sorry, not exempted, you are not going to be allowed into the United States. But when the announcement was made, it was like, whether you have an existing visa or you are just going to apply for visa from January, sure you get, you will no longer be welcome to the United States, except some few exceptions. So the confusion spread enough that those who initially campaigned to stop the exposure of the Fulani jihadists, Islamic terrorists, and other terrorists operating in northern Nigeria, killing Nigerians, and all of that. Sure, you get, to them, those with the conviction that if America says they are coming to fight for Christians, no, they are not. They're actually coming to take your resources. I'm talking about those advocates of that. So this gives them the gotcha moment. That is, you see, it is no longer government officials. Every Nigerian everywhere right now is going to come under the scrutiny of what America is going to throw your ways. Where you are not wrong. There are also those who also believe that maybe, just maybe, those who claim to be one Nigerianist, and at the same time, while they are campaigning for or supporting the APC, as well as their propaganda and lies about Nigeria, they are also behind the scene working to relocate their families. There are many of them who have actually, led or deceived people to make them believe that APC meant well. But guess what? The moment they started feeling the heat, they relocated their families outside Nigeria. So, and they are supposed to be the one Nigerianist. That maybe this time around, right, everybody will possibly just stay in Nigeria and fix Nigeria. Well, the real announcement and their real reason is kind of captured in these screenshots you have on the screen. Why did Nigeria become part of this? Like, what, from where to where? The thought that after meeting with Donald Trump's Secretary of War, XF, right, that Nigeria shouldn't probably be added to this, but still, they said it's because of the radical Islamic terrorist group, such as Boko Haram and the Islamic State, operate freely in certain parts of Nigeria, which creates substantial screening and vetting difficulties. According to the overstay report, they said Nigerians on a B1, B2 visa, right? They overstay, 5% of their 5.56%. And then an FM, I think that's student visas, right? Overstay rate of 11.9%. These are the reasons. These are supposedly reasons, right? So another one, they said the entry into the United States of nationals of Nigeria as immigrants and as non-immigrants on B1, B2 or B1, B2, FM and J visas is hereby suspended. So the part of the confusion right now is that if you are a Nigerian on a Nigerian passport and you have American visa, because the third one is that the consular officers shall reduce the validity for any other non-immigrant visa issued to nationals of Nigeria to the extent permitted by law, right? So the confusion that people kind of like are asking questions of is that, does that mean that if you are issued your visas from Nigeria, or does it just mean that it doesn't matter where it is issued? Like if you have a Nigerian passport with American visa, you are subjected to this. So the other question is that if the declaration of, the adding of Nigeria to this is to stop Nigerians for the next 180 days, which is like about 6 months, all right, from coming to the United States of America, is it not better not to actually like accept any visa application at all from January? So you get like, why should you apply for American visa when you know that it won't be granted But if it is granted, you won't be allowed entry. Then again, the what do you call it? The cost of one Nigeria. Today, right, in the last 10 years, the northern politicians who created these armed terror groups that have been killing Nigerians, the same northern politicians have managed to ensure that the system continues to protect them one way or the other. They ensure that Nigeria has failed repeatedly to bring these perpetrators to justice. And therefore, they put Nigeria on the map as one of the terrorized countries in the world. So you get. So today, we all know that the people that actually really want to travel or have been going to America, if we have to consider the percentage from the north, between the north and the southern part of Nigeria, you can easily tell that the southern part of Nigeria, where there is no existence of extremism, religious, killings or whatever it is, right? Like we have in the northern part of Nigeria. Now, that northern part of Nigeria is a place where they barely go to the US except for maybe their politicians and their family. You know what I mean? Like the politicians and their family members. And there are others who are probably like on education scholarship or something. So you barely see them interested in going to America. But guess what? The order of Trump, right, is not going to really, possibly like consider that. I heard that there are those who are giving a different interpretation. Others believe that it will end up in court. So you get, and it won't fly and all, what have you. But that is not the issue. It is the fact that for 10 years of APC, and as they are still pretty much doing, Nigeria became the headquarters, the breeding ground for religious, extremists, including religious Islamic terrorists, the jihadists who have continued to slaughter people in the country. The role of the government of the country, the politicians from north to everywhere, is either that of being so afraid of them. We know those who are milking the opportunity. And this is how Nigeria happened to you. You've done nothing wrong, you will say, right? What have you done wrong? I've not done anything. I mean, you know what I mean? But here we are, said, President Donald J. Trump signed a proclamation expanding and strengthening entry restrictions on nationals from countries with demonstrated persistent and severe deficiencies in screening, vetting, and information sharing to protect the nation from national security and public safety. Now, something here is this, right? You can possibly say, well, Donald Trump said Nigeria is a disgraced country. So every other of his action or proclamation considered to be coming from, well, that same point of view, which, well, others disagreed with, by the way. And at the same time, if you take a look at the list of these countries that are, that are added to this ban, and you will realize that they are mostly African countries, and some of these, Asian Pacific, countries, they are those. But the real place where you have all these, the birth of these ISIS, Al Qaeda, and the rest of them, those who inspired this terrorism, and those who are probably countries that have been accused of funding them, none of them is on the list. So that brings us back to how Washington sees Nigeria. And why is Washington seeing Nigeria the way Washington sees Nigeria? It's just simply because of, the characters in your government. Maybe that may actually be the main thing. Well, any reasonable thing to say. When you have a country, supposedly 250 million people, who are comfortable with those who are very much romancing terrorists and jailing activists. The supposed number one citizen of the country is a known, drug dealer who had forfeited the same proceed of narcotics to drug, white heroin, right? Forfeited over 460,000 US dollars to the same American courts. So such countries shouldn't be so surprised if for any reason you are being treated this way. No respect, no nothing. Simply because it's more or less like, why should anybody respect you when you do not have any iota of respect for you, for yourselves rather? To have somebody like this Kolu and his gang who are running a propaganda government in a country that is imploding right under them, right? But they are telling themselves that they have done so well that if you don't agree, it's simply because you're an hater. And yet, here we are, right? Now talking about Kolu, because well, however this ends or goes, of course, it's going to probably be us paying for what do you call it? The cost of one Nigeria. 2 months ago, Kolu had his court jesters, his praise singers gathered in a room inside the asshole rock. And what were they talking about? Yeah, that was around the time that Donald Trump was talking about sanctioning Nigerian government officials, withholding the aid that they give to Nigeria, just as a sign of sort of like a sanctions to get Nigeria to act and end these killings, right? But in return, Kolu bragged and said, you know what? We are doing so well. The economy has turned the corner. Inflation is falling. We have met our 2025 revenue target. And they all clap. We don't care about what Trump is saying or what Trump is doing anywhere. When Tinubu took or grabbed power in Nigeria, the inflation, well, the official inflation figure in Nigeria was 20% or 21% under Bukwari. And the supposed food inflation was put somewhere around 34%. Was there? No, 25% rather. None of them got to 30, except the unemployment, which was at the time put at unemployed Nigerians were put at over 40%, while those called the underemployed Nigerians were somewhere around the 76%. So the data that was backed by the same World Bank that is borrowing their money. Tinubu came, removed the subsidy, crashed the economy, then told people that, yeah, it's just the price they will pay because now they will save money. Enough money that usually goes to the private pocket of these oil marketers. Rather, this money will now go into infrastructures. This money will go into, improved sort of like electricity. They should have made all these nonsense promises to them, and people believed them. They painted a graphic picture of what this money could have done and how much of this money is being lost. Anyway, the economy tanked. They ran back to the World Bank, IMF, and the rest of them. They told them to go and devalue the Naira. Straight up, Tinubu devalued Nigerian Naira. And like that, boom, it was a straight fall. I mean, like a free fall. Nigeria's Naira became a tissue paper, a trash. Right? Nigerians' resources, most of them were given away in a very much like a giveaway prices. And most of them are actually stolen. Nigeria ran up, so much debt in a year that Tinubu actually matched the money borrowed by Bukwari in 8 years. So what were they going to do? Would this money create jobs? Would the economy improve? No. Rather, inflation skyrocketed. That was when they went straight to work. They said, no, we need to rebase this measurement. This is now to measure inflation. This is now to measure unemployment. You know what I mean? They started cooking their own book, starting with, inflation inflation will fall down back to 15% by 2025. How? As how now? Would you improve electricity supply? Would you improve the, Naira's supposed value? So you have to see something to say, okay, yeah, something's going to start coming down soon. But boom, the next thing they told us that unemployment, the measurement used for unemployment in Nigeria was wrong. That if you are in Nigeria, there are those who at least manages to get something done, whether they just clean people's car or wash somebody's car, or somebody asked them to help them paint a place. So if you are making up to like 1,000 naira a week or 10,000 naira in a month, you are not unemployed. So you are employed.